The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense latest intelligence update on Ukraine, October 19, 2023. On October 14, Russia declared the damage to the Crimean bridge from Ukraine's July attack had been repaired ahead of schedule. The bridge remains restricted. Trucks and fuel are still moved by ferry despite being operational. The bridge is vital for Russia's occupation of Crimea and forces in southern Ukraine. It now requires significant protection like air defense systems, taking away resources from elsewhere. Russia's confidence in protecting the large vulnerable bridge is threatened by Ukraine's military ingenuity. Ukraine's Armed Forces General Staff update. Russia launched missile and drone attacks across Ukraine, hitting civilian infrastructure and killing civilians. Over 70 combat engagements occurred. Russia fired missiles, airstrikes, and artillery on various regions of Ukraine, including Kharkiv, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson oblasts. Ukraine repelled numerous Russian ground attacks in Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. Fierce fighting continues near Bakhmut. Ukraine conducted airstrikes and missile strikes on Russian command posts, troops, weapons, anti-aircraft systems. Ukraine shot down Russian drones. Russian forces continue shelling settlements near the Belarus border, but no major offensive action seen. Russian forces maintain presence near Ukraine's northern border, shelling settlements in Chernihiv and Sumy oblasts. Ukrainian forces continue counteroffensive operations near Kherson and Melitopol. The Institute for the Study of War Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Russian sources indicated larger than usual Ukrainian ground operations on the east bank of Kherson Oblast near the Dnipro River shoreline and Antonivsky Railway Bridge on October 19. A Russian military blogger claimed Ukrainian naval infantry gained a foothold in the village of Krinky 30 kilometers east of Kherson city. He said Russian counterattacks pushed Ukrainians back, but they still control some houses in Krinky. Other Russian sources claimed Ukraine used more manpower than before in attacks on Krinky. Russian sources like Vladimir Saldo said Russia pushed Ukrainian forces back from areas 15 kilometers east of Kherson city to the Dnipro River shoreline and Antonivsky Bridge. Ukraine tacitly acknowledged operations on the east bank, saying Russia struck Avdiivka, implying a Ukrainian presence there. Despite diverging Russian claims on the scale of Ukrainian attacks, the institute assesses current actions appear larger than previous raids. Geolocated footage indicates Ukraine maintains a presence along the shoreline and near Antonivsky Bridge despite Russian counterattacks. The Institute for the Study of War key takeaways today. Satellite imagery suggests the October 17 Ukrainian strike likely damaged helicopters at Luhansk airfield. Ukraine downed 5 Russian aircraft in 10 days in Donetsk amid high Russian vehicle losses near Avdiivka. Ukraine advanced south of Bakhmut and west in Zaporizhia, continuing counteroffensives. Lavrov met North Korean officials, likely to get more munitions as Russia's supplies dwindle. A Russian blogger said Ukraine is successfully attriting Russian reserves asymmetrically. Russia continues trying to remove Wagner forces from Syria. Russia conducted offensives along the Kupiansk-Svatov-Kremina line, near Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Donetsk city, on the Donetsk-Zaporizhia border, and in western Zaporizhia, gaining ground in some areas. A Russian region is allowing miners to work in hazardous defense jobs amid labor shortages. Reporting from Ukraine update. Ukrainian forces conducted offensive operations in the Kherson region and established a bridgehead on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. Ukrainians pushed Russian forces away from the islands in front of Pridneprovsky, allowing them more freedom of movement. Ukrainians conducted artillery and drone strikes to destroy Russian observation posts, communication antennas, artillery, and troop concentrations. An amphibious operation allowed Ukrainians to clear the islands and assault 2 villages on the eastern bank, Pishchenivka and Poima. Russian analysts admit Ukrainians are holding an all-round defense while Russian forces are disarrayed. Russians fear Ukraine is preparing further attacks from the north towards Krinky or Kazachi Lahari. Ukraine has a large number of pontoon bridges and mobile bridge equipment, concerning Russians about a massive offensive. Ukraine Matters update. Ukraine received old U.S. ATACMS missiles that can strike most Russian-controlled territory in Ukraine except Crimea. Ukraine used the missiles to strike Russian airfields, damaging many aircraft. This will reduce Russia's helicopter operations. Russia renewed its offensive near Bakhmut, gathering troops in columns despite past failures, showing they don't learn from mistakes. The Russian military system doesn't punish failures, only disloyalty. So officers repeat failed tactics to show effort. Russia is throwing itself at Ukraine to slowly bleed out, using up Soviet-era equipment reserves. Russia will face one of the most devastating defeats in history, and will no longer be a military threat after this war.